I love it when feminists come out and say the exact thing I've been warning us about, saying what they've believed all along. And now they're coming out and just flat out saying it. So no more conspiracy theories, no more hate speech. Thank you, TikTok. No, they're coming straight out and saying exactly what I've been saying they've believed since the beginning.
There is no denying that there are many human rights issues that uniquely or disproportionately affect men.
In this country, fathers are not second-class citizens. I know there are a lot of people out there, including judges and probation officers, who still don't get that message, but fathers are not second-class citizens. Sometimes they're actually better parents.
When men are married to women who scream like you, they just want to die sooner.
What's up, guys? I'm Father's Crisis. You know that. Thanks for liking, sharing, and subscribing. I've been having a real hard time on TikTok as of late. My lives keep getting banned. I keep getting reported because I'm saying feminism is evil. And I invite people to come on and have that discussion with me. No one chooses to go ahead and accept that invite. Instead, like snowflakes, they just go ahead and report the video just to get me off. The funny thing is, when I'm talking, of course, I'm not being hateful, I'm being informative, and even TikTok recognizes this because I have won every single appeal. They've banned my lives 4 times now, and I've won every single appeal, and they've been taken down for hate speech, and it's clear that I'm not saying anything hateful. But there's a clear double standard, obviously, when it comes to social media and silencing a certain point of view. So I can't really be that bothered by it. But we came across exactly what I've been talking about. And the reason why I think feminism is evil is because of its presupposition, the baseline belief of feminist theory. And this could be traced all the way back in America to 1848 with Elizabeth Cady Stanton and her beliefs and her writings and everything. She's the first suffragette. She started the suffrage movement here in America. And these beliefs can be traced back to her. And it's been consistent in all waves of feminism and amplifying each wave. And that their belief, their essential belief, is that women are oppressed and men are their oppressors. And when you believe that, which is fundamentally wrong, fundamentally has never been historically true, when you believe that, you can justify any action you take against your oppressor. You could do whatever you want to your oppressor because they're oppressing you. And so there's no accountability if you're oppressed. If you're oppressed, well, you can do what you want because you're oppressed. You're disenfranchised. You're disadvantaged. And so this is why feminism always advocates for less responsibility for women and more responsibility for men. Because the more responsibility someone has, the more you can bury them, figuratively. And the more if you have no responsibility, you're the most liberated person there is. So if you keep reducing responsibility for women, the more and more liberated they are, the more actions they can take without consequences. And this is exactly what I've been saying in my TikTok lives. And I keep getting taken down. Well, thankfully, feminist comes to my rescue, actually, and says exactly what I've been saying. and says the most woke crap you will ever hear. Let's go ahead and play that.
This is probably going to piss off a lot of people. But a relationship between a man and a woman is inherently unequal. And that goes for any relationship where someone is deciding to date their oppressor.
There it is. And she's going to tie it to race here too, but she's already established that all men, are all women's oppressors. That's her establishing premise. That is her hardcore beginning belief, which she bases all of her beliefs about feminism on. And we'll talk about why and how that's dangerous, especially when you're talking about relationships.
Just like all white people have racism brainwashed into them, all males have misogyny brainwashed into them. And any male who claims not to be a misogynist is a misogynist.
Any person who claims to be a misogynist is a misogynist. So that's the other thing. Feminism creates these unfalsifiable claims where they just believe, it's everything that's wrong with the country or with society, it's patriarchy. Like that, it doesn't matter if women are doing well or men are doing well, or men are doing bad or women are doing bad. It's all patriarchy's fault. It's the invisible boogeyman. And here she is again, basically saying, well, all men are misogynistic, period. Especially the ones that say they're not. Oh, man. You can't prove to me you're not a misogynist. The logical fallacies just are going to stack up in this 1 minute video. It's insane.
Because a self-aware man knows that he has it brainwashed into him. And any time that a woman decides to be in a relationship with a man, she's making a sacrifice and a commitment knowing that she's dating her oppressor.
See? A woman is making the commitment to her oppressor. Now, if this is true, in the context of relationships, and just in context of society, when I said, if you're an oppressed person, you can justify any actions you take against your oppressor. You can reduce your responsibility and the consequences of your actions because you can justify them because you're oppressed. And like that, this is why this woman's probably single and will always remain to be single, because any problem, whether it's a direct result of her or the direct result of the man, any problem that exists is going to 100% fall on the man because he's the oppressor. Can't possibly be her fault. She's the oppressed. You can see this dangerous line of thinking. This is why, men, we don't date feminists. Ever. Ever. And I don't promote like promiscuous sex and all that stuff. But for the guys who, want to play around and stuff, these women will get you in trouble. Because this is the same woman who will say, will regret it the next day and then said you raped her. Avoid feminists like the plague. They are definitely not worth it. Not for one night, not for months, never. Because you will always be looked at as the problem within the relationship, even if you were the perfect boyfriend or husband or one night stand. You will always be the problem because you're the oppressor in her mind.
Almost all women have sexual trauma and emotional abuse trauma, literally just from society.
This is so untrue, and that's exactly what feminists do. They have to blow up and lie about stats. She's literally saying that all women have been in some way or shape or form sexually harassed or sexually molested or raped, or to the point where they're completely traumatized. It goes beyond. This is insanity. She is living in a clown world. The problem is she's probably hanging out with male feminists, and as we all know, male feminists are most likely actual predators. So she probably hangs out with these male feminists who say, "Oh, I'm a male feminist, and yeah, I'm part of the problem," and then uses that to gain her trust. And we've seen this a whole bunch of times. But it's nutty to me that they have to go so far to say that every single woman is traumatized by men. It's not even true. Domestic violence happen. There's so many stats out there. It shows that it basically happens on an equal plane. There's other stats that I've even talked about on this channel where actually it says that men are the majority victims of domestic violence. A whole bunch of stuff. But yeah, everything's men's fault. Everything's men's fault. But
And she's taking a risk in being with you and making a commitment to help you undo your brainwashing. Now, of course, I'm not saying that people shouldn't date the opposite gender, but a lack of awareness can cause problems.
Pot kettle black. A lack of awareness. Unreal. This broad is off her meds. No, but it brings me to say that when feminism has this core belief that men are their oppressors, they're going to be able to justify, again, like I said, anything they do within the relationship. They want to cheat. Well, men cheat all the time, and I'm oppressed, and you're my oppressor. You can't tell me what to do. You can't shame me for doing that. You can't shame me for cheating. You can't criticize anything I do in this relationship because you're an oppressor. And you need to know that you're the oppressor. And you need to know that you can't criticize anything I do because you're just perpetuating patriarchy and perpetuating being a woman hater, being misogynistic. You could see why a relationship with a feminist could never work out, especially a feminist that's quote unquote extreme. But she's not extreme. This has been the core belief system of feminism since the 1800s, and it was pretty apparent in all waves of feminism. It's just, and it's the same thing with the belief, white versus black people. White people are the oppressors of blacks, and therefore, if BLM wants to go and torch a city down, then yeah, you know what? They've been oppressed, so we'll go ahead and ignore that. White people get pissed off about Trump losing an election, then we're gonna call it an insurrection. We're gonna say they're domestic terrorists. That the whole thing was violent. All this stuff. You see the double standards. BLM, Antifa literally burned down federal courthouses in Seattle, Portland. Those aren't insurrections, even though they're destroying government property. But when right-wing white people do it to the Capitol, and not even near to the extent of what happened in Portland or Seattle, they have federal investigations. They hunt down every single person that was there, and due process has been questioned whether what's going on over there with people who've been there. All these things. So you see the double standard, and it's no different with between men and women now, where there's a huge double standard. This is why women don't. When women commit the same crime as men, they get 63% less jail time. This is why when women commit domestic violence, no one takes it seriously when it's against a man. And the highest percentage of domestic violence incidents are in lesbian couples. Guess which is the least? Male gay couples. They have the least percentage of domestic violence. It goes gay men, the least, heterosexual couple in the middle, lesbians with the most. Lesbian couples with the most domestic violence by percentage. And yet, who's the biggest problem? What's the biggest problem in domestic violence? Men, of course. Even though the stats show it's 50-50, or even greater, that men are the victims of domestic violence. Well, the thing is, men don't get seriously injured. The few men that commit domestic violence are the ones doing the most damage, and that becomes the problem. And they also found in these stats that when it was reciprocal, when domestic violence was reciprocal, meaning both the man and the woman were violent, it raised the chances of the female being hurt dramatically. So when the woman was equally as physical, it increased her chances of being severely hurt. When the man was just the only one committing violence, there was a less chance of her being hurt to the point of needing to be hospitalized. Of course, I'm not justifying any violence. Women and men need to keep their hands off of each other in that context. But this all goes back to say, don't hate feminists. Society will always view men as the bad guy. Always. And especially feminists like this, you will always be the source of the problem. Because that is their hardcore presuppositional belief. Everything they believe is based on that belief alone. And therefore, like I said, can justify any actions they take against you, and justify anything that you do as wrong, because you're inherently evil. Because we're inherently misogynistic, according to feminists. We inherently hate women, according to feminists. There's a new study come out said that men under the age of 30, over 50% of them said they refuse to date feminists. That needs to be 100%. It needs to be 100%. You're only going to cause yourself grief, trouble, heartache, at minimum, if not false allegations of sexual abuse, being a victim of domestic violence from these hardcore feminists. Because again, if they're oppressed, they can justify violence against you. Because you're an oppressor. Inherently, if you're an oppressor, violence against you is okay because you're an oppressor. And when you're as a man, if you're the victim of domestic abuse, you're more likely to go to jail for domestic abuse than the person committing it against you. And I have a whole video about if you're a man being domestically abused by a woman, what steps you need to take. I have a whole video of that. I'll try to post it here. But yeah, it's insane to think that feminists can actually be good girlfriends, because they can't be. They inherently will not be able to do that. And this is why I hate feminism. This is an evil belief. It's an evil belief to think that men are the oppressors of women. It's not historically accurate, and it's completely false. Completely false. And then it produces that mindset that women can do whatever they want because they're oppressed. And will look at men as being the sources of all evil and the sources of the downfall of women, and be blamed for everything that is going on. So, that's it for today. That's my rant for today. Don't date a feminist. Thankfully, this feminist comes right out and says exactly what I've been saying about feminism for so long. So, I definitely appreciate that. Doesn't she seem like a lovely person to go out with? Like, can't you wait to go out with someone who thinks you're an oppressor? Like, that's the other thing, man. Like, why would I ever want to date a woman who thinks I'm oppressing her? Like, why? How is that beneficial to me in any way? Really, how is that? I mean, if you truly believe that, how is that any beneficial to you? Dating an oppressor, like, how is that even beneficial to you if you truly believe that? And I like, in this situation, most people would say go see a therapist, but these therapists are trained to believe that most men are bad. That's what psychology. I mean, the American Medical Association has basically came out and said men be bad, toxic masculinity. All men are toxic. I mean, they basically said that masculine traits are bad things in men. But if you're trans, if you were a woman and want to become a man, then masculine traits. If you want to assume those roles, then that's okay. But if you're a man and have those traits, well, that's bad. That's a bad thing to have. But again, I digress. Thanks, guys, for watching this. I hope you enjoyed it. Again, don't date feminists, and please like, comment, and subscribe. I need to grow this channel to be at least over 1,000 subscribers, and I can start doing daily or more like weekly or daily videos for you guys, as long as YouTube keeps me, and we all know how that will go. So appreciate it, guys. Thanks for watching.
Groovy.